The TIER trial in which I participated in was a trial to try to determine if a delay in a therapy with triple therapy, which is hydroxychloroquine, sulfasalazine, methotrexate, or delay in a biologic therapy, in this particular example, etanercept plus methotrexate, would have a long-term impact on the outcomes of patients with rheumatoid arthritis in comparison to starting those drugs right in the beginning. And there are certain centers in the country that feel that triple therapy is as effective as biologic therapy plus methotrexate, and indeed, most of the data does support that. Most rheumatologists feel more comfortable with a biologic plus methotrexate rather than triple therapy, but the work done by Larry Moreland, Jim Odell, and others does show in this study that triple therapy is quite effective. So this was a study looking at people with very early rheumatoid arthritis, about 3 to 4 months of disease, 755 patients. They were seropositive for rheumatoid factor or CCP antibody, or they had at least 2 erosions on x-rays. And they had very active disease. Baseline disease activity scores were 5.7, 5.8. And there were, again, 4 treatment groups. We initially, etanercept plus methotrexate, sulfasalazine, plaquenil plus methotrexate, and then actually a third group, which is methotrexate by itself. At the end of 6 months, those patients who were not in low disease activity, as measured by DAS score, had their therapy escalated. 28% of patients on methotrexate alone, as we talked about, 30% of people on methotrexate do achieve low disease activity. And in the first 6 months, patients on etanercept plus methotrexate or triple therapy did better than the patients on methotrexate alone. From month 6 to month 24, the patients who still had active disease on methotrexate alone were escalated in a blinded fashion to either etanercept plus methotrexate or triple therapy. At the end of 24 months, there was no difference in the clinical outcomes between the 4 groups. The early starters, the delayed starters at 6 months escalated their therapy, the disease activity scores had improved by the same degree. So from a clinical standpoint, what this showed is that triple therapy was as effective as etanercept plus methotrexate, clearly less expensive, so that's a real bonus in those people who can't afford biologics, and that the delay of 6 months had no impact on quality of life as measured by HAQ scores, SF-36s, which can measure disability, physical function, mental function, and also just the classical examination, joint counts, acute phase reactants, and so forth, ACR responses. There was some subtle differences. There was slightly more X-ray progression in the triple therapy group compared to the biologic group. And the more robust responses at week 24, the ACR 70, sort of favored the etanercept group. So I think the take-home message is that triple therapy is effective, and most patients will work as effectively as a biologic plus methotrexate. Another study by the same group, the RACET study, or ROCKET study as they call it, RACAT, showed a similar phenomenon, that triple therapy was seen to be as effective as etanercept plus methotrexate. Many of us believe that the retention on triple therapy is not as good as the retention on biologics, but we don't have that objective data. So I think these are 2 very good treatment options. Very important study that's showing that there's no harm to the patient if you delay therapy 6 months and just use methotrexate alone, not delay therapy, but delay more aggressive therapy, and that the triple therapy is as effective.